Well, hello there, everybody. All one or two of you. This is chapter 9 of the book of Enoch, or as some would call it, the book of Enoch. And chapter 9 goes. And then Michael, Uriel, and Raphael, and Gabriel, and you can notice these names, they all have yellow in the center, which is yellow represents gold, gold represents God. And these are I got the gold in the center of these names because they have God inside of them. Whereas if you see these when they're angels and they have another color on them, they're questionable, like the watchers who have forsaken the heavens and want to come down and live with the honeys. That being said, looked down from heaven and saw much blood being shed upon the earth, and all lawlessness being wrought upon the earth. And they said one to another, the earth, made without inhabitant, cries the voice of their cryings up to the gates of heaven. And now to you, the Holy One of heaven, the souls of men make their suit, saying, bring our cause before the Most High. And they said unto the Lord of the ages, Lord of lords, God of gods, King of kings, and God of the ages. And the reason I keep enlarging the ages here in this part is because a lot of people won't touch the idea of multiple ages. And many times when they read that word, they read over it quickly. And of course, most of you that when I start talking about ages, your mind goes to what the world quickly labeled the gap theory, to label gap theorists alongside with conspiracy theorists to take away validity of any thought to an age before this one. But you have to give some validity to the possibility of other ages, because we have proof in the very book, the King James Version even, that the devil was an angel before he was the devil. And when our book, the Generations, starts, when the devil shows up there, he's already a jerk. And God does speak before the devil was this jerk. He was this angel that was given all beauty and importance and all those types of things. So that proved there was a time before what we would consider to be the beginning. And I think this the ages alludes to that. Let's see, the throne of thy glory standeth unto all the generations of the ages, and thy name holy, and glorious, and blessed unto all the ages. Thou hast made all things. Thou hast made all things, in power over all things hast thou. And all things are naked and open in thy sight. There ain't no hiding from Big Daddy. He knows all and sees all. I see in thy sight, and thou seest all things, and nothing can hide itself from thee. Thou seest what Aziel. Now this is the fallen angel who wanted to come lay with the women. This is he said, look here, God, you see what this guy has done. And of course God always sees, but he always waits on his time to get right so things can play itself out right, so we can have justice. A crime, and the crimes have to be committed before there can be justice, right? So he's basically just calling God out on this. You're seeing all this. You know what's taking place. What Aziel has done, who hath taught all unrighteousness on earth, and revealed the eternal secrets. Now, this is kind of an important thing. And a lot of people, that means a lot of different things. It means one thing to witches, means one thing to people who choose not to go that path, which were preserved in heaven. This was like secrets that were for the holy ones, not for man, right? Which men were striving to learn. Now, that's kind of an important thing. You know, men, just like Adam and Eve in that garden, they're always striving to learn these things. And Semjaz, whom thou hast given authority to bear rule over his associates, and they, now notice the color is gold with black inside. This represents God's spiritual creatures, which have a black heart, a spot of death inside of them. They are with spot. And they have gone to the daughters of men upon the earth, and have slept with the women, and have borne giants. Now this is basically recapping the stories we just read before, much like most of the Bible does. This recapping is a way to get you to get it. You know, most times when you read something, you need to read it 2 or 3 times before you can get the gist of it. And the Bible does that by reproducing these stories in the same chapters over 2 or 3 times to help you get it, to help it make its way to your head. So this is kind of like what state this part of the story is in right now. Let's see, and they have born giants, and the whole world has thereby been filled with blood and unrighteousness. And now, behold, the souls of those who have died are... Oh, that right dies the wrong color. I have to change that. This needs to be black. The souls who have died are crying and making their suit to the ages of heaven, and their lament, having ascended, and cannot cease because of the lawless deeds which are wrought on the earth. And thou knowest all things before they come to pass, and thou seest these things, and thou doest suffer them, and thou doest not say to us what we are to do to them in regard of these. So it's almost like this angel, he's kind of perplexed, and he's almost trying to maybe give God a nudge, so to speak, as in they're looking at all this injustice. I mean, we had a nice garden here where the seed of man was going to come up with this experimentation God wanted for us for redemption. He's trying to find a way to give us mercy and stay true to His Word at the same time, which God come up with a plan, and it will work and does work. And it looked like the plan was going to work pretty good. And here comes the devil swinging back in the back door, screwing things up through these spirits. He's working in these spirits. These spirits are these watchers, whose place it was to watch over and mechanize this glorious project, this celestial thing that we can't see because we're looking from the inside of it, but that these beings, along working under the watchful hand of God, has created to give us all this wonderful gift of salvation, is now in jeopardy. And they're calling on God, hey, do something, because these guys are giving us a hard time and messing up the plan. And God's He's on His own time, like He is always, and He will start laying down the laws and handing out the punishments for these guys, as we see. And it's an interesting thing that's very important about their souls that we learn when these giants die, that they're not fit for heaven, they're not fit for the afterlife, and they're kind of destined here for earth. And gives you an insight as to why some people rise to power. Remember, everything is happening with possessions these days. Possession is everything. If you think about what Christ spent the majority of His time doing, He was relieving people of these possessions. Spirits possess people. They always have. Trouble with that is the world has been given a preconceived notion of what possession is. And we're given this false sense of possession, which, by the way, I say false, but there are actual physical entities happening with possession. But at that same time, the majority that wins this world over is not the Linda Blair object in the movie The Exorcist. You don't see that on every street corner, do you? What you see, that you see on every street corner is drugs and alcohol, sexual perversions, witchcraft, and all these types of things are, in fact, possessions. And that's the possession that Satan's real work and worth and power is worked through these acts of possessions. So, and these spirits, they're on this earth very much today, and they are in these people that we consider giants today. They were giants then in physical stature, or they're giants today because they own companies, large Fortune 500 companies, Boeing, Lockheed, all these companies that make instruments of war, and all these drug companies that constantly produce the drugs that us as a society, for some reason, we can't seem to do without anymore. They're our giants. We're paying these giants out. Just like in the old days, we were always feeding these giants so we couldn't feed them no more, until someday they start to consume themselves, as this book foretells, as we will see them consume themselves today as this system starts to crash. We're going to see these giants in these companies, the spirit that has lived within these companies. They're going to start to eat themselves just like they did back then in physical form. But now we're going to see companies buy up other companies. Hostile, massive takeovers. We're already seeing the beginning of that now. Companies crashing down and going the way of food and fodder for the other beasts. So with that being said, I'm going to end this video. She's at over 10 minutes long, and I wanted to kind of keep these around 10 minutes. As you notice, I'm not making these videos too quickly as I'd hoped to, but I'm just gonna make one as I can, and then try to get. It's going to take a long time to get this book on YouTube. But there are already a lot of other books on YouTube that are reading the Book of Enoch, which is, there's probably 10 or 12 I saw, and I'm sure there's more than that. And any of them is worth taking a good listen to while you're working or whatever. The Book of Enoch is very interesting. It does not beat around the bush, and is a catapult that will clear things up immensely. Mostly because the disillusionment and confusion machine was not allowed to tamper with this book, as so many scriptures were. Okay, that being said, I'm going to get out of this video, and adios. See you next time.